Thank you all for joining us. This is the Alumni Perspective Panel as part of Stockton's Spring 2021 Virtual Open House. So thank you all for joining us. We're happy to have you here. My name is Kortney Patzelt. I'm a 2016 and 2018 Stockton alumna, and I'm the Alumni Engagement Coordinator in the Office of Alumni Relations. Joining us tonight is my colleague Aisha Lee, a 2014 and 2017 Stockton alumna and the Assistant Director of Alumni Relations. We also have Olivia here with us, who is an admissions ambassador and can answer some of your questions throughout the evening as well. We're excited to dive into our panel discussion. You can see some of our alumni here with us tonight. So you'll be hearing some of their Stockton stories and hearing a little bit about their Stockton journey. I just want to go over our agenda and some housekeeping items really quickly. So I'll start off and introduce our alumni so that you know what they graduated with and where they're working now. And then we'll dive into a few questions that we're going to have everyone respond to so that you get to learn a little bit about our alumni and what their Stockton experience was like. And then we'll also have time at the end for some questions from you all. So please feel free to use the chat feature and submit questions as we go along. We can answer some throughout the session, and we'll also get to some of those at the end. We ask that you stay on mute throughout the panel discussion, and at the end, we do welcome you if you're interested to unmute yourself to ask any questions or interact with our alumni as well. So without further ado, we do have our 5 alumni panelists with us this evening. Enzo Caminotti is a 1999 business studies graduate and the director of marketplace operations for Asia Pacific and Latin America with Nike. Kelly Felice, 2012 graduate of hospitality and tourism management and former senior associate director of alumni engagement. Tony DiPietro, graduate with a 2007 Masters of Arts in Instructional Technology. Financial advisor with Voya Financial and councilman with the Township of Galloway. David Harrison, 1999 graduate, business studies, and the lead analyst at Willis Towers Watson. Emily Heerema is a 2008 and 2013 graduate from the Occupational Therapy program, as well as being an occupational therapist. So thank you so much to our alumni for taking the time out of your evenings for being here with us. We do appreciate it, and we're looking forward to hearing what you all have to share with us. So to jump into our questions here, the first one, which I think is very important, we want to know why you chose Stockton. So Kelly, if you'd like to start off.
Sure. So I am a graduate of 2012 hospitality, as Kortney said. I went into Stockton not really knowing what I wanted to do. I actually was set to not go to Stockton. I lived really close, about 20-minute drive from Stockton, and I always said, I don't want to go there, it's too close to home. But you know, it came down to finances, and we just decided in my family that it was the best choice for us. It's not the glamorous answer to the question of like why you wanted to go to the school that you went to, but it really did make the most sense. And I'm so fortunate that I was able to live on campus for a little bit, just as much as we could afford, and be a commuter student for the rest of my Stockton career. And I will say I left with a manageable amount of student loans. So there was always a plus side to that.
There you go. That's very important. appreciate that aspect of it. Enzo, if you'd like to go.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So I went to Stockton, I went to Burlington County College for 1 year. And as a senior in high school, I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to go, where really was given much direction, let's say, from my counselors. So I did Burlington County College for 1 year, and I knew that I wanted to go to a 4-year school after that first year. So I worked with the EOF office in Burlington County, visited Rowan and visited Stockton, and then really made a connection with the EOF team in Stockton. And that relationship was really what drove me to Stockton, because I knew I had someone to rely on in case I had any issues or any help needed. So for me, it was more of the relationship that I made with that team that worked in that office, that then once I got to the open house and got to see the campus and see the activities was what kind of solidified my decision to go to Stockton.
That's great. Thank you. I know the EOF program is such an important and impactful program here, and I know everyone makes such strong connections coming out of that as well. Emily, if you'd like to share.
I went for a few reasons. I also went to community college for a year before I chose Stockton, and I also looked at Rowan and Rutgers. I chose it for a few reasons. Location was important. The vibe of the area, it's not as built up. It wasn't as built up back then as it is now. And actually my undergrad is in literature, and I felt a good connection with the faculty and stuff, the people that I got to meet, the RHU people that I met when I went for open house. I really liked the vibe of the campus. It's really amazing now, but back then it was even more chill. So I enjoyed that. And I lived in Point Pleasant, Bricktown area. So it was far enough to be like a faraway place, but easy enough to just drive to and from if I ever needed to come home. And overall, yeah, price was important. When I was in high school, my dad looked me in the eye and said, "No, you're not going to NYU. That's the end of it." And I was like, "Okay, no problem. You know, whatever." You know, you see on TV, you're like, "Oh, New York, whatever." I did make it there. We could talk about that later, but that was something to do after college. But Stockton was the right thing for me for my undergrad. I thought I was going to be a teacher. I'm an OT now, not too far off the original thing. So that's that.
Awesome, thank you. I'm from Howell, actually, so
Oh, very good.
next door to you. David?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my journey was a little bit longer because I am from the Caribbean island of Barbados. And my girlfriend at the time, she was also from Barbados, and she went to Stockton. So while she was at Stockton before I was like about to visit her. And she would always tell me how nice the campus was, how friendly the staff was, and it made it feel like a family. And when I came to visit her, and I experienced that because I came on campus and I experienced that feeling. And I said, so when I decided to move from Barbados here, it became kind of an obvious choice to go to Stockton. Didn't really look anywhere else, just went to Stockton because we already had that connection there. So that's my reason for being at Stockton.
That's a great story. Thank you. I guess last but not least, Tony.
Get myself off of mute. I'm sorry about that. Thank you for having me this evening. It's nice to be here with all my fellow alum. And I have a very unique story about Stockton. I originally wanted to go to Stockton right out of high school. And I also wanted to go to Washington College. So I ended up going to Washington College my first semester. And then I transferred to Washington College for undergrad my second semester. After a few years at Stockton, as much as I love Stockton, I ended up transferring back to Washington College and graduating from Washington College for undergrad. But because I love Stockton so much, I returned to Stockton to graduate with a master's in 2007. My story is quite unique because when I graduated from college, I worked on Wall Street, and the dot-com bubble had happened in 2001. I moved back down to South Jersey, mainly because of proximity to New York City and to Philadelphia, and of course, Stockton being close to the coast and the Pine Barrens, which is one reason why I originally chose it. But once I was there, I met so many great people and developed so many relationships, not only with my fellow classmates, but with the administration, the instructors, and it just really always had a warm place in my heart. So I ended up coming back and going to being one of the few in the first couple classes or years of the Master's in Instructional Technology. And I studied instructional technology there and couldn't be more thankful. I actually live here in Galloway, as most of you might be aware. And I'm very thankful to be close to the campus. And every time I step foot on the campus, well, prior to COVID, and actually I've been a couple times after COVID. On the weekends, I take my 5-year-old daughter walking around the campus, and we really enjoy it. So the reason why I chose Stockton is mainly because it was just such a wonderful place, and that's such a nice feeling in my heart when I first visited it. I could never escape. Hence why I live here as well at the moment.
Thank you. I know what you mean. I appreciate it. So our next question that we have to go through is, what was one of the most memorable things about your time at Stockton? And that can be anything from professors to classes to the campus, anything that sticks out to you. We'd love to hear about that. So Enzo, if you'd like to go.
Sure. There's a few things I think that stick out to me and memorable, but mostly it's the relationships. I think one of the reasons that attracted me to Stockton was the campus. The student to professor ratio is pretty small, so you get to know your professors. But I remember I used to love going to grab lunch, and I'd see my professors at lunch, and I could sit down and talk to them and have that relationship with them. Not sure how it's changed in the last 10, 15 years. I know I see a lot of buildings going up, and I haven't been back in a while, but at that time it was pretty simple to just grab lunch with a professor and have that time with them where you're not really in a student to professor relationship, you're more in a friendship relationship, right? And you're having that conversation, and that's really what has a lot of meaning to me as a student, and that advice and that inspiring conversation that you have with them. So that was, I think, one key takeaway for me, and that I've been able to take on to my career. And then I think the other thing was being really involved in student activities, student government, all the different clubs and fraternities. And I was really involved in that aspect as well, which helped me build other relationships, which I can call those people all my friends and family now. So I think those are the two things that really stand out to me, because I still have that bond with those individuals now, 20 years later. And they came from something that we had in common, was joining a club or participating in an event, because Stockton gave us that opportunity to get together, right? So I think those are the things that are memorable to me, is those relationships that I've been able to build.
Definitely, thank you. I know we keep our Stockton connections through life, which is awesome. And I think it still has that setting where you can grab lunch with a professor. We do have some new buildings and a different campus now, but I think it's still similar. I think you can still find that. Emily?
I love that Enzo said all that in '99, because also in 2004, we were doing the same thing. I was just saying to my friend Nikki, who is my best friend that I made in college, that we follow the Lit at Stockton Instagram, and we are reading all the books, and we just need to be in contemporary women's lit again. Like, we're going to just take the class again. We're just going to read the books and, chat, Instagram, chat with the Lit at Stockton and Dr. Jacobson, and be like, yeah, we're reading there, and we're reading Little Fires Everywhere. And, we just, that kind of connection that we have with our teachers from 10, 15 years ago, we still have it today, thanks to the very small part of social media that is worth connecting with. So that's really amazing. And, I'm kidding about the social media a little bit, but because of Facebook and Instagram, I'm still connected with a lot of teachers on a personal level, but also we have great groups of like our classes. For the OT side of things, there's MSOT alum where, once you graduate, the professor invites you into that group, and you just have 10 years or however many years OT's been around at Stockton worth of alumni to connect with and network with professionally, get advice from, or just put something out there like, hey, there's people on there all the time. My mother-in-law needs a rehab down by Voorhees. Who knows? There's stuff like that that's like personal and really meaningful, up to my company is hiring if you live in the Hackensack area. So stuff like it's a huge range. So professionally, from my master's degree, there's a huge connection, a little bit more modern. But from the early days of my undergrad, it's very grassroots. Hey, who's doing what? Oh, Deb Gussman is, walking her dog, and it's so fun to see her. Or now Lisa Honecker is the Dean of RHU. That's amazing. She was my English, not history, but like Lit of Britain teacher, stuff like that. It's just really neat to see all that. So, but for specific memories, I could sit here forever. I was in a lot of clubs, like Enzo said, and I was the editor of the Argo. That's a big deal to me. There's a lot of ideas there. And then when I was a graduate student, I was the, what was my title? I was like the graduate assistant for student development, and that was huge. I worked with Kelly. That was awesome. That was a really great experience. I got to supervise a lot of things, and then I also got to go on trips as a supervisor, and just to be a part of that experience was really great.
Thank you very much. That's a lot of great memories.
Oh God, please could talk all day.
Bless you. Kelly, would you like to share?
Sure. So kind of just echoing what everyone else has said, you really do make like lifelong connections with people, whether it be through social media or even just in your personal lives. So like I definitely still have those connections. But the biggest memory that I take away is my time getting involved in the clubs and activities. And I'm sure you'll all hear this countless times from your admissions ambassadors, from everyone else at all the other sessions, but it really is important to get involved beyond the classroom. As I mentioned, I was a commuter student. So like my first year of Stockton was getting in my car, driving to class, getting back in my car and going home. Like that was it. And I knew after my first year, even before that, I was like, I want more out of this. So I ended up becoming an orientation leader, and then was a head orientation leader, which was a year-round position. And it was just so informative to my life. Like I ended up going into higher ed, getting my master's degree in higher ed and working in higher ed for quite some time. So it really did shape what I wanted to do with my life. And it had not much to do with what I was learning in the classroom. It was convenient for me that the hospitality program actually like kind of fit in with higher ed in the events and coordination aspect of my career. But it was really like getting involved on campus, meeting other students, meeting other student leaders, and just keeping those connections going. And it really like you make mentors who become your friends, and it just, I can't speak enough about that.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much. I guess we'll do Tony and then David.
Jeez, thank you. Gosh, I have many memorable moments. For my undergrad involvement at Stockton, I have many memorable moments of just building, well, from both building relationships, creating long-lasting friendships with people I still talk to this day. But I remember going to Lakeside Center and watching bands play. Friends of mine, many of my friends were in bands. The involvement with clubs was very, very valuable because you get to network outside of your class, your majors, and gives you a little bit of opportunity to explore outside of campus. We had trips to New York and what have you. And I grew up here in Southern New Jersey. So my first experience to New York was, only a handful of times as a kid until I had to work there. But Stockton gave me the opportunity to get there and learn a little bit about the city. And not only that, but, just the long-lasting relationships that I built. And I was really bummed because when I was there, we did not have a surf club. But I do follow Stockton Surf Club on Instagram now. And prior to COVID, I wanted to get involved with the surf club and kind of just be, someone who can help out. And I know I was asked a couple of times to try to get involved. So unfortunately, our schedules didn't work out. But maybe in the future once COVID is behind us. But as a graduate student, my most memorable moments were just interacting with other Stockton students who were also in the workforce, who brought different ideas to the classroom environment and allowed us to think outside the box. And there's a lot to be said with working with students who are actually in the workforce, and even professors who happen to be either adjunct instructors or instructors who also have a job outside in the practical environment. So you get a good understanding of what the real world's about and how you can apply what you're learning to your future. So it was really nice. And I would mainly say the relationships that I built are probably the most memorable. They're most memorable and the most long-lasting memory that I could think of from Stockton University. Hence, I still, like I said, I still end up on campus a couple of times a week when I'm able to. So it's wonderful. Thank you.
And just jump right in there. And not to sound like a broken record, because everybody said it before, it's the relationships, but most definitely. But two of the, I would say the most memorable things that stood out for me was when soon after I first came to Stockton, and as Enzo mentioned, you're going to grab a lunch and you're there with a professor. And I was at this table sitting down with Larry James. And Larry James was an Olympian medalist. And there he was sitting down at lunch, talking just like anybody else. And I said, wow, that blew my mind, because here's a person that had such accreditation, but was so humble that he was there mixing with the students, talking to the students, And that's one of the things that we found about Stockton. The professors, their relationship was not like a person looking down at you, but they were on par with you. They helped you, they guided you, not only with work, but with personal life. If you had a problem, they would talk with you. And the other thing after that was after leaving Stockton, or even when I was there and going to different functions, and you had the Stockton professor band playing. There are the professors playing gigs. You know, you have all the persons that are teaching you a class during the day, or those who work in different offices out there jamming at night, and you just hanging out with you. And during their breaks, they come and speak with you, have a drink with you, and it was so cool. And I think that's the foundation behind a lot of what we experience at Stockton. The professors, the persons who work in the offices, just being on par with you and having that relationship with you to make you feel like you know, you're there with them, and not looking down at you or looking down on you.
Thank you so much. And the Stockton faculty band still is jamming on campus. Maybe not so much since COVID, but they're still around and playing. So we love them too. Our last question here is, how did Stockton help prepare you for your postgraduate professional career? I guess we can start with Kelly, if you'd like to go first.
Sure. So as I had mentioned, I ended up going into higher ed. So basically everything I did at Stockton was in some way translatable to working in my career. But I will say I didn't start right into higher ed. When I left Stockton, I actually worked at Voya. I worked at Voya from when I was 16 years old to basically, I was there for about 10 years. So obviously started as part-time, worked my entire Stockton career also on campus, but also at Voya. So when I graduated, being in hospitality, there was a lot of overlaps between like the food and beverage management portion of my degree and pursuing a career with Voya. So I ended up joining their, I don't know if they still have this program, but it was a management training program for recent grads, and Voya ended up paying back a portion of my student loans. So it worked out really well for me that I was eligible because of my degree to go into that program, and I was in the program for 2 years, and I got about $10,000 to go towards my student loans. So can't complain at all. That was a very big perk of like working alongside being at Stockton and having that degree to help me along the way. And then I did leave Voya. I kind of I went backwards when I got into higher ed because I had been working at Voya for a while and I needed to kind of take a step back to make a transition to a different field. So I ended up being a graduate assistant for Alumni Events at Barnard College in New York City. And I actually worked my way up there to various positions, but more recently, the Senior Associate Director of Alumni Engagement. It's a part of the Columbia University community. So it was like coming from South Jersey, it was kind of little fish, big pond situation for me, but it was just a really great experience. And I had an internship on campus in event services that directly translated to what I was doing in my career at Barnard. So it was just, I couldn't have been successful in that without my Stockton experience.
Thank you very much. Tony?
Great, thank you so much. Kelly, that was wonderful. It was awesome to hear how Stockton had helped you prepare for the real world and for all the challenges that we faced. And I do see some questions here. I believe Michael has a question regarding a business major. Is that correct as well?
Yes. So
Okay.
I'll read that now if we want to look at that.
I was a business major in undergrad, so if that would help too, I can kind of, if you want to read that out.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So can someone talk through their first job and or early jobs after college, specifically with a business degree? Michael's considering business with a business analytics major.
Thanks. I'm sorry. I hope it didn't jump the gun, but I figured since we're talking about how Stockton prepares for the real world, you know, I would say, having spent my years at Stockton and the interactions with social learning and getting to know other people helped really prepare me for the real world. But as a as an undergrad business major and a technology major in graduate school, Stockton helped open my mind to what else was out there. Because I mean, if you, I don't know how many of you guys just grew up in Southern New Jersey, but I was pretty much just closed-minded in Southern New Jersey, didn't understand really I didn't know what the real world was about, you know? And when you get exposure to working in New York City, there's people from, I mean, talk about a melting pot, you know, it's just such a wonderful place to get to meet people from all different cultures. And, you know, you get to meet people at Stockton with different cultures, but when you really, you know, are a small little country boy in the big city, it does open your mind even more so. So Stockton gave me the opportunity to realize that, you know, there are people from all different cultures that you could really learn from and really embrace discussions and build your relationships. Not only build your relationships personally, but because of those personal relationships, you learn how to build relationships in the business world. So to answer Michael's question, my first job right out of college was for the NASDAQ stock market. And I actually, the funniest thing is after about a year at NASDAQ, I went and worked for an investment bank in Jersey City. And there were a few Stockton alum who actually worked there on the trading desk with me. And what a wonderful experience it was to, you know, hang out with some of my Stockton friends, you know, in New York City or around that area. And it's just it really helped prepare me, not just for a job on Wall Street, but the real world as far as getting used and adjusting to change. Technology, my master's degree is in instructional technology. So one thing we focused on was how students or how individuals can adapt to changes in the workplace as technology evolves. So in my job on Wall Street, the dot-com bubble burst in 2001, and I ended up coming back down here to Southern New Jersey and going to graduate school and studying technology because I traded technology stocks and thought I would go back on, you know, back to New York later on after I got my master's. But I ended up going into education, and I taught both in higher ed and I taught both in K through 12. I taught business, I taught computer science, I taught economics. And then after about 15 years of doing that, I went back into investment management, and I do investment management for the employees at Stockton, believe it or not, and a handful of other schools throughout the state of New Jersey, and actually some of the local school districts here in Southern New Jersey. So Stockton really helped me prepare for my future, not only through the content that I learned academically, but mainly for the, you know, the social growth that I developed by just interacting with many people from different aspects and different cultures. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to you next, David, and then we can do Emily and Enzo. David, if you want to touch upon our question, how did Stockton help prepare you for your postgraduate professional career? But also if you have anything to speak to Michael's question in regards to your jobs out of college and the business degree specifically, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. No, but my degree was, my undergraduate degree was in finance with a minor in economics. And it so happened like maybe a week or two before graduation, they had a job fair on campus. And I just put in applications left, right, and center, all of. And the day before I graduated, I got a call asking it was actually from a temp agency asking me if I would mind coming and working for this company. So I said, okay, is it involving finance? They said, not really, but it's like number crunching and stuff like that. So I said, okay, I'll give it a start because I needed to get, started making some money. And when I started the job, it was just exactly that, going through crunching numbers just for them. And 22 years later, I'm still there. I'm now a lead analyst. My job is working in implementation. I work now with systems and implementing programs and systems for the companies that we manage. And the company that I work for, we administer benefit plans for Fortune 500 companies. And part of my job is to make sure that all the clients that we have, all their data and all their systems are up to scratch and working correctly. But what Stockton prepared me for, it gave me a well-rounded foundation. And it was not just strictly on finance, but looking at different aspects of business in general, because even as that is my professional professional field as an analyst, but outside my profession, I'm the chief financial officer for my church. So having that background and that degree also helped me in another area. So the key thing about what I found my experience was with Stockton was that they don't just train you in the area that you want to major in, but they give you a well-rounded base, and you can use that and spread your wings as far as you want to go. So my recommendation and my suggestion to Michael would be, yes, if you want to concentrate on business, fine, but make sure that you incorporate some other classes and courses that help you to give that rounded base, so that even if you don't get into the specific field you're looking for, it opens up doorways and gateways to go into or parallel that until you really find what you're looking for. And whatever you do, just make sure that it's something that you enjoy, because you would get the the most benefit out of it. So that's my experience.
Thank you so much. That was perfect. Emily, and then Enzo, if you'd like to go, and then we'll take more questions as well.
Yeah, I can't say enough of what everybody's been saying, but especially David. There is a recording of me from a few years ago, like famously saying that college is not job training. College is to make you a better person. I won't say that about my master's degree though, so don't let my OT professors think that they didn't prepare me, because they did. But with my lit degree, I mean, we had people in our class who were pre-med, going to be lawyers, going to be this, going to be that. So none of us were in there looking for a job. Like none of us took contemporary lit and contemporary American drama to get a job. We got it so we can understand the human condition and we can understand what life is all about, but for job training specifically, I'm going to high five Kelly on this with orientation leader, because I, as an undergrad, was an orientation leader and it changed my life completely. And then I was a Talon and a SOAR mentor, and Jen Foreman-Radwanski single-handedly formed me into the person I am today because of her mentorship during all of those programs. So I 100% recommend getting involved in any type of peer leadership program that you can do. And that is not limited to just those things. I mean, there's the writing center, the tutoring center, like all of those things are incredible. And just like David, I also went to the career fair and I found my first career, because OT is my second career. My first job out of college was with AmeriCorps, a program called City Year. Greatest time of my life, second to Stockton. I mean, every time of my life I always say is the greatest, but AmeriCorps was the best. I did it for 2 years as a Corps member volunteer. I was in New York City, so that's where the New York thing comes in. The Philadelphia representatives were there, but they were great. One of the girls representing City Year was from Stockton, my friend Jill. And I said, oh, is there a New York one? Because this is like coming back. I was like, well, I wasn't allowed to go to NYU, but I need to get to New York. And they said, oh yeah, there's definitely a New York chapter. They're all over the world. So that's how I did that. And to being an orientation leader and all of those other peer mentorship things set me up for City Year, because that was the whole thing. It was you were working in a team to accomplish a goal. And my specific goal the first year was to work in a school in the Bronx with 5 other peers that weren't really, well, they were my peers in age, but they were from all different backgrounds, which was amazing, speaking of melting pot. And then my second year in City Year was putting together service projects for our sponsors like Citibank or Credit Suisse law firm. They would send like a group of people to me and I would facilitate a program with them for like a team building for them. Because what they used to do is throw money at a bar and be like, here, do a mixer for our junior executives. And they would like just hang out and they would like talk to each other, but they didn't really have like skill building. Whereas if they threw these junior executives to a project with me where I'm like, okay, we're going to plant trees today. And we're also going to supplement that with some high school students from the school that's right here where we're planting these trees. So I was mixing different skill building with these executives who were like, well, we've never met each other. How are we going to do this? Well, that's the whole point. You're going to get to know each other because now you all work together. And this was 10 years ago where they were working all over the world and doing this Zoom situation. But this time they were in New York for a week and they needed to like be trained. And this was like part of their training, like a supplemental thing. So that was my job, was to put together the project for them. So if I weren't an orientation leader or a talent or anything like that, I don't think I would have had the flexibility, the personality skills that are important for meeting people brand new day one, and then I'm putting them to work, like, hello. Learning how to, more than flexibility, but to like problem solve on the spot, being comfortable asking questions of, like, say there was a groundskeeper, like, to be able to approach a person and speak to them confidently, ask them a question, friendly, not look nervous, like, oh, I need this, but more like, how you talk to people, like out in the world, how you talk to strangers and how you talk to people in authority and things that you need. That was the skill building I got from Stockton. If you want to go back to academics, sure, how to read, write, and how to ask a question in the classroom. But if you're talking about job training, pick, I guess, a program that is very technical, like PT, OT, speech, nursing, or something like that. But if you're talking about how to get along in the world, that's where, like David said, picking courses that mean something to you and make you feel well-rounded, and then also getting involved in the different clubs and activities that will give you some sort of idea on how to work with other people, and not just peers. They're your peers because they're your Stockton students, but they could be a different age, they could be a different gender, a different race, different background, from a different state, different town. That's what you have in common, is that you're a Stockton student and you're in the same club. And if they're different from you, that is way better. That is going to set you up more than anything, more than any class. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. And Enzo?
Yeah, I think Stockton got me prepared. I think from an educational perspective, I think they were able to lay the foundation. I studied international business, so all the management courses, accounting, and everything else was exactly what I needed. But I think what Stockton, how it really got me prepared, was giving me opportunities to do other things. So I was able to study abroad. I went for a semester in Argentina. So that gave me a whole different perspective on things. And then from there, I knew that I wanted to do something with traveling and working internationally. But use my business degree in that manner, and then also being bicultural, bilingual, to use those skills as well, to be able to pull that together. How I was able to use my Stockton relationships, was able to see my professors. I remember I had Dr. J.D. Williams. He was an international business professor who was also consulting. So having conversations with him to see what else was out there. I think very common to what Tony mentioned was that sometimes we don't know what's out there until someone else gives us that, opens up that door for us, right? Or gives us some insight about what's out there, because we only really know what's within our inner circle. And some of us don't have the opportunity. If our parents haven't had that opportunity, we don't have the chance to go see what's available, what's out there. So I think Stockton, talking to people, understanding where they're coming from, knowing that there is actually a doctoral degree after your master's degree, things like that were new to me when I joined Stockton, right? I only knew, okay, I'll get my bachelor's degree and go on from there. So I think those were the things that Stockton helped me with, and also a lot of soft skills, communication, leadership from the activities and the clubs. You learn a lot of leadership skills, believe it or not. You're leading a club, you're leading a group of other students, making deadlines, budgeting with Harry Maurice back in the day, making sure we weren't over budget. So these little skills that I look back now that I use today were really important, or are really important. And then I think to Michael's question, as a business major, I got out of Stockton, I would recommend various internships. I did an internship at Dean Witter at the time. I also did an internship at Wells Fargo. And then I took a role with Bloomberg in Princeton and New York, working with them. But then I decided to take my business, let's say, knowledge to work in retail. So I worked with Macy's, H&M, and then recently, not recently, but the last 10 years, been with Nike. So I was able to kind of build experience to get a position with a global company. And then with Nike, I've been able to work in Los Angeles, Mexico, and now Portland, Oregon. So, there's ways to go about it to where you can travel, do what you want, do kind of what you love, and kind of take the skills that you have from Stockton and apply them. It may not always be right out of college. I think that's always a misnomer. Sometimes we think like, oh, right out of college, I'm going to get my career job. No, I think sometimes it takes time. So we're not all as lucky as David, right? David's been in his role, but sometimes you have to build experience. Sometimes you have to learn. And then also what I tell a lot of my colleagues or my employees is that, you're going to find out that this culture, this one organization may not be the right fit for you. So it may take a while until you find that right fit, and then you'll know when that right fit is. So I think it just, from a Stockton perspective, what I would recommend to Michael from a business major is take opportunity of the business professors, the business alumni, talk to them, get yourself more information from them. And then when you have an opportunity to do internships, do as many internships as possible, just so you can see what industries and what organizational cultures are like, because it's very different than going from a higher educational culture to an organizational culture where now the bottom line is all about profit and things like that. So it's a lot different.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for all the wonderful things you've shared so far. We do have a couple questions from our audience. So I'll start with this one in regards to the Career Center. So what role does the Office of Career Counseling have in helping graduating seniors get started in professional work? So I'll speak to this briefly, and then if anyone else would like to share, please feel free. Our Office of Career Education and Development offers career and internship fairs on a yearly basis, also almost semesterly too. And these are great opportunities to meet employers, get your toes wet in terms of what you want to do, what you think you're interested in, and talk to those companies. I believe David and Emily said that they both got jobs or connections from those career and internship fairs. So we have prime examples here. And the office also helps students throughout their entire career at Stockton. You can go to them for resume help, interview help, and all different things. They have career counselors that are designated to specific majors, so that you can kind of gauge what types of jobs and careers you can find based on what you're studying. And then you also might find that you want to pursue something different or use your degree in a way you didn't even think you could. So I know Olivia dropped the link for their office in the chat, so feel free to visit that. But Emily or David or anyone else, if you want to share anything about the career office, feel free.
Yeah, Kortney, real quick, I just wanted to say, you mentioned two things that were very important, resume writing and interviewing skills. Because remember, you're gonna be out there in a competitive, very competitive market. So you want every possible edge that you can get. So take advantage of sharpen up your resume and also your interviewing skills so that you be a standout. There are a lot of Stockton alumni out there, go Ospreys, and that alone is going to help you if you have the right connections. But getting that resume across somebody's desk and then sitting down and interview, because a lot of companies do it now. They have like five interviews. The first three are screening interviews, and then the next two are the ones that will determine if you get a job or not. But so if you take advantage of those resume writing and interview courses, please do, because they're going to put you, above and ahead of the class.
I didn't go to the career fairs as much because I kind of had my own path, even though I strayed from it. But I did take advantage of the resume writing and like the counseling portion of career development. So much so, like I had multiple, like I think hour long meetings with counselors to go not only just go over like edits to my resume, but why I should be making those edits, just to help inform me for the future, helping me with cover letters. I was looking into grad school, so like just different statements I needed to formulate for my grad school applications. They helped me out with that as well. And then just to kind of go back, Emily mentioned someone named Jen who works at Stockton and kind of informs a lot of her advisees' lives. She doesn't work in career development, but if you make other connections with people on campus, they can also help you with those things. So I was going to career development, but I was also going to Jen and other people in student development and saying like, can you look at this for me? And so I had like multiple sets of eyes on like everything that I was submitting, whether it be job related or grad school related.
I could jump in if you'd like me to at the Career Center. I still interact with the Career Center today as a council member in the township. We get a lot of phone calls from people who are looking for positions or looking for resume writing skills. And these are Stockton students who are called the Township. And one of our jobs as a council member is to help the public, right? So, you know, when I get the opportunity to help the public and also help a Stockton student, it's a double whammy, you know, it's like I hit the jackpot. But the Career Center not only helps people with their resumes and such, but as a student myself, when I was an undergrad at Stockton, I too, as Enzo said, take advantage of an opportunity with internships. And through the Career Center, I found an internship with a small broker dealer in Ocean City called Wheat First Butcher Singer, who's changed names many times since. But for the few years that I spent at Stockton as an undergrad, I actually was able to work at a broker dealer and, you know, learn more about the practical world. So the Career Center not only helps as far as setting up possible internships with outside vendors, career fairs, helping one learn how to develop their interview skills, their resume writing skills. I mean, it's just a wealth of information, and any student who doesn't take advantage of interacting with the folks in the Career Center, they're doing themselves a disjustice. But, you know, the main thing about Stockton, not only the Career Center, but, you know, a liberal arts education, as many of you guys said on the alumni panel, you know, a liberal arts education goes such a long distance because it allows one to look at different aspects of life. And by utilizing that in the real world, when you're interviewing, you're not just interviewing for a position, you're selling yourself, you know, and your personality and the skill set that you have, not only the skill set that helps you meet the needs of that position, but the skill set of allowing you to interact with others in that corporate environment or that in that institutional environment. So I could not speak highly enough of the Career Center. So if you're an incoming student and you are spending 4 years at Stockton, please take advantage of the wealth and knowledge the folks at the Career Center offer.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for helping answer that question. I know we're getting down to almost 7 o'clock, but we do have one more question so far in the chat that we'll go over. And again, if anyone has any more questions, please feel free to drop them in there and we'll try to get to them before we close. This question I'll touch upon a little bit. Aisha, if you want to share some as well, and then our alumni, this goes directly towards you all. So if you have any input as well, we welcome that. So this question is from Emily, and she asks, I'm wondering if anyone can talk about the structures in place to facilitate alumni connections after graduation, things like regional alumni clubs, alumni magazine, class notes, and whatnot to help people stay connected. So right here is one example of the ways that we try to keep our alumni connected to Stockton and to our students here. We're always looking for alumni volunteers to speak on panels like this and serve in many different roles to kind of bring their Stockton story back to the students here. We have so many alumni interested in volunteering and being involved in this capacity. So probably more than we have opportunities available. So we're always looking for different things like that. We do also have a Young Alumni Club, which is for graduates of the last 10 years. Newly formed, we are planning different events that we'll be hosting throughout the year, hopefully some in person eventually. But this is a group that we use to connect the young alumni to themselves so that they can forge relationships and network amongst each other, but also with our students to connect them back to Stockton and make those relationships. And then in terms of alumni magazine and class notes, we currently have a digital magazine. It's called The Nest, which is our alumni newsletter. It goes out monthly. We highlight alumni each month so that they can talk about their lives and what their Stockton journey was like. And we do also publish class notes for our alumni so that we can celebrate them and all the wonderful things that they're doing. I saw that Olivia dropped the website for our alumni relations office, so that will take you to links for all of these things. And I think the last thing I'll touch upon is Osprey Connect, which is our fairly new online networking platform that is specific to Stockton alumni, students, faculty, staff, and friends. It's similar to, let's say, LinkedIn and Facebook, I'd like to say, is probably the two closest things. We're really looking to build this up even more and more. We've had some great growth over the last 2 years. And we're slowly but surely welcoming all of our students into that so we can build upon the networking and mentorship capabilities. But we have different things in there that we highlight, such as events and a job board and all different types of things. So that is basically a broad overview. Aisha, if I missed anything, feel free to jump in.
You did an excellent job kind of summarizing all the things and all the ways that we kind of keep our alumni connected. And I was just going to say, just put a shameless plug in for Osprey Connect for all of our alumni panelists. If you are not a member, I know you got the email, register today to join. But like Kortney said, Osprey Connect is really one of the ways that our alumni can stay connected with one another. There is a jobs board on there as well. And one of my job responsibilities, let me just kind of give a quick background of my Stockton experience. As Kortney said, if anybody missed the introduction, I am a graduate of 2014 and 2017 with my master's. And I started in the Office of Alumni and Development when I was a student worker. So my first job out of college was still in college, still at Stockton. So, I never left, I graduated and was offered a position, not assistant director of alumni relations. Kind of started at the bottom. My first task was shredding documents. But you kind if you do it but like everyone kind of said, you have to take that experience and kind of build upon it. Your first job out of college might not be your dream job, but here I am today, several years later, being able to speak to all of you and what Stockton can do for you. So one of my job responsibilities is, kind of some of the things that Emily touched upon, the regional alumni clubs, and those ways to keep our alumni connected. And so for Osprey Connect, one of the things I'm trying to do is to help build those different affinity groups, whether it be regional, folks in the healthcare industry, people who are part of Greek life, who are students who are talents and residential life, people, folks and that kind of a thing. So that's one of the ways that we're really trying to help keep our alumni connected and connect with people who they didn't necessarily know while they were at Stockton. Folks who are a part of Greek life. I'm not sure if we have any, one on right now who, there we go, Olivia, who is a part of Greek life, but that's Enzo, there you go. That's a lifelong thing. You go through this process and you got the sister and this brotherhood, but it's not just with those people who crossed with you in fall 2017 or fall 99 or, whatever. It's kind of all the brothers and sisterhood, so that's definitely an identity that people carry and they carry very proudly. So those different types of affinities is one thing that we're trying to build out. And so, of course, unfortunately, right now, regional networks kind of got put on pause. We were starting to do those things where we have heavy pockets of alumni. Philadelphia, of course, New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York, the DC area, California, and then Florida as well. So those are kind of the areas that we're looking to build out those regional networks. But those are the things that we have going on currently and that we're working to kind of build upon. So hopefully, and by the time your prospective student is a graduate of Stockton, those things will be well established and she can take full advantage of those.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'll just say as well, we typically have many alumni events in person every year. Obviously, COVID has affected that and we've switched to virtual, but I think it's been a benefit to us because we've been able to connect with folks and get people on board who maybe would not have been able to come to campus or come to the South Jersey region where we're having some of our events. So we're happy to be here in the Zoom world and looking forward to getting back to some of our in-person events in the near future as well. So if anyone else has anything to share, our panelists, if there's anything that you wanted to speak about your experience or anything at all, please feel free to jump in. And I don't think we have any questions in the chat that we've missed yet, but if anyone wants to, unmute themselves and ask a question, please feel free to do so now.
Can I just add about the alumni involvement? First of all, thank both of you, Kortney and Aisha, for all you do for the university. One thing, my wife and I truly miss the gala. We're looking forward to that, to hopefully come back to in person at some point in time. But the ability to get involved as an alumnus of the college has been invaluable. It just helps so many students and it helps, build that sense of Stockton family even stronger. When most of us get asked to do something for the college, we're thrilled to do so. And it helps open up a lot of doors for either students who are looking for careers or students who just want to get another aspect of the world outside of Stockton. For instance, you know, as an alum, I assisted with the a couple hackathons computer science hackathons, computer science events that we held at the university, and just being able to get involved just builds that Stockton relationship so much stronger. You know, it was nice to see people that I didn't know at first, but the second year we had that hackathon, I mean, we were like, you know, brothers and sisters. You build that sense of camaraderie that's second to none. So kudos to both of you guys, and for all the alum here who are participating in this event, and for being involved with Stockton, because you're only building a stronger family, which, you know, everyone's proud to be an Osprey. So thank you.
I'll just quickly add, I had while you're in the hospitality program, it's actually required as part of your credits to get an internship. And so I want to say, I don't know the percentage, but so many of those internships were coming from companies that alums worked at. Like, the professors would reach out to different companies and say, like, oh, we know so-and-so graduated 6 years ago, works at this event hall and is looking for interns. And like, so many of the placements came directly from the Alumni Connections in the general Stockton area. I will say I also kind of like underground volunteer, like nothing formally, but I've been back to multiple orientations, and I don't think they do SOAR anymore, but I have also been to SOAR Post, which was the overnight camping thing for incoming students, as an alum, just to like, one, help out, but two, to like check things out and see how they've changed. And it was always good to just stay connected with those people that you build your mentors, essentially. So I've done that a few times. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but it's been great.
I love it. We love to hear that.
Kortney, I'm actually gonna just put one of our audience members on the spot right now. Sutton, I know she's gonna probably kill me for this afterwards, but Sutton is also a Stockton alumna and actually does also work in the Office of Admissions. So Sutton, do you want to take just a minute or two just to kind of sum up your Stockton experience and offer any advice to our prospective students who joined us tonight?
Of course, and thanks Aisha. So I've kind of been behind the scenes a little bit tonight, just listening to everyone, seeing what our amazing ambassadors. I actually work with our ambassadors, so Olivia has done an amazing job tonight answering all of the questions and being on rapid fire with the links for everything. But I also am an alumna of Stockton. I graduated in 2015, and I do work in the Office of Admissions. So pretty much like what everyone else here has said tonight, Stockton really is a family. Like Aisha, I also never left Stockton. As soon as I graduated, I got a job. I was a student worker, and I remained in the same office that I worked in for a while, and now I'm in admissions now. So there's so many of us that are like that. I think it's a testament to what Stockton does, and you just don't ever want to leave, so you stay forever. But Stockton is an amazing place, and as all our panelists have shown, there's so many different career paths you can go to, and even if you major in something and it ends up not being the career path that you take, you do learn so much from Stockton, and Stockton just really makes you a well-rounded person. And as Emily mentioned, it makes you just a learner of, you know, a good person just in general in life. So if you have any other questions just about admissions in general, or, you know, you're still on the fence about coming to Stockton, you can always email or message me or Olivia or any of our other panelists. I know everyone wants all of you guys to be future Ospreys. So thank you guys so much for coming and listening to all of our panelists tonight, and thank you to the panelists as well.
Thank you, Sutton. That was wonderful. I'll share briefly as well. I graduated from Stockton, worked as a student worker, graduate assistant, and now I'm full-time as well. So I think we all have that in common, which is a wonderful experience to share. Olivia shared something in the chat for our attendees, if you all would like to check that out. I just want to thank our panelists again for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your evenings to share your story with our students. We really are so proud to have you as our alumni and hope that these students are future Ospreys with us. Olivia, Aisha, Sutton, everyone here, thank you all for your participation and for helping out. And to our students and families, thank you for joining us. We hope that you took something out of this and hope to have you on board with Stockton. So thank you all and hope you have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for attending, and nice to see everyone.